Excuse me. What a burp there. Okay. Yo, yo, what is good, everyone? It is the Godfather of VR, the ageless wonder, the man Lincoln Clay coming back at you with a live stream. And this is not live from Wakanda, as I feel there's not enough news this week to justify having the show. But I still did want to do a stream, no less. Um, what do we got for a notification here? Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit more about the let me shut that thing down. There. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit more about the Oculus Quest because each time I play the Oculus Quest, I just gravitate towards it more and more. But make no mistake about it, this is not me changing direction and like going solely with a quest or anything like that. It completes my experience as far as VR goes. Because now it's like between PlayStation VR, PC VR with my Oculus Rift S and the Oculus Quest, I feel like all the bases are covered. It feels like no matter what I want to play, um, there's a headset for that particular game. And I still feel like every one of these headsets has its place. But yeah, the Quest is becoming my everyday driver in a sense that that again it's just so quick and convenient. Um, and I've said that before on a number of occasions that I keep my Quest on the I keep my Quest on at night when I go to sleep. I keep my Quest on the side of the bed, so uh, it doesn't matter. When I get up, if I feel like I want to play something for a quick 10 or 15 minutes, I can just grab the Quest, put the headset on, and play it for 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever I want to play it, and then take it back off. And whereas with the PC VR, I feel like I'm opening up a building. I feel like I'm, you know, going to the building, unlocking the door, deactivating the alarm, turning on all the lights, firing up all the machines, so I can get ready to for a day's work. Um, with PC VR, I have to turn on my PC, type in my PIN number. I have to open the Oculus app. Um, I have to, if I'm going to play a game that's on Steam, then I have to open up Steam as well, and and every now and then I'll lose my Guardian, so every now and then I'll have to make a new Guardian, which that happens with the Quest too every now and then, but for the most part, the Quest will remember the room. So with the Quest, if the Quest doesn't recognize the room, you give it a few seconds, and then it usually will remember the room, and then you can just confirm the Guardian rather than have to make a new one. But with PC VR, yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm doing a lot of work, even though it's not. It only takes a few minutes to fire the thing up. Shats, what's up? It only takes a few minutes to fire it up, but at times I feel like I'm doing so much work. Um, but yeah, with the Quest, like I said, I just wake up out of whatever I'm doing, sleeping on the couch, sleep in bed, in the bed. Um, if I'm watching something on YouTube, because as far as watching television goes, YouTube has become my main source of entertainment, and I could be watching YouTube and just like that, I might decide I want to play something in VR and just reach over and grab the Quest and put it on. And like I said, even if it's only for 15 or 20 minutes, just get a quick burst, play something real quick, and get out. Um, again with PC VR or even PlayStation VR, sometimes I feel like I have to devote about an hour to get my money's worth, so to speak, out of either of those headsets. Now, don't get me wrong when it comes to graphics, um, and the variety of games that's out there. PC VR is still king. You know, this PC VR has the widest variety of games. It has the most multiplayer games out there, and it has the best looking games out there. So, in that aspect, PC VR is still king. But my goodness, the convenience of the Quest. I'm starting to get to the point where every time I leave the house, every time I leave my home, and I'm getting ready to go somewhere, one of the things that pops up in my head is, should I bring my Quest? Shaz, you said my son has his Quest here this weekend, so I'll be trying it out today. What kind of games you gonna try out, Shaz? I mean, what do you know? What games your son has for the Quest, and on top of that, what kind of games are you looking at trying? And to think, I almost sold that Quest. I know I told the story before, but I'll tell it again and just condense it. After my son was already, when he would come over here on the weekends, he was starting to play, my Oculus Rift CV1 more and more. And I was a little bit apprehensive about getting the Rift S because of the tracking issues. And then once the tracking issues seemed to have gotten solved, then I got a Rift S. And then the first time my son tried the Rift S, two things came out of his mouth. One was that the colors weren't the colors didn't pop on the Rift S the way they do on the CV1. But he absolutely loved the clarity. He loved how sharp the Rift S was and that it wasn't any blur. Shats, we have all three Vader Immortals, Beat Saber and Sith Rider so far. I wish I could recommend some games for you, Shats. I mean, but I'm still adding more shit. I'm still adding more Quest games to my library. Um, if you're a Trekkie, I definitely would recommend um, Star Trek Bridge Crew. But if you already have like PC VR, then I would definitely recommend it on the. I would definitely. You know what? I think the game is. I just remember that the game is cross-buy. So if you already have like an Oculus Rift and you like Star Trek, I would recommend it because I believe it's cross-buy. You buy it once and you'll get it on the Rift and the Quest. So if you're a Trekkie, I would recommend Star Trek Bridge Crew. If you like fast-paced first-person shooter games with that Western flavor, I would recommend Dead and Buried 2. I never thought in my wildest dreams that would end up being one of my favorite games. I play that game so much. That's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons why the Quest has slowly become my everyday driver because of games like that. I have to really go out of my way. I have to go out of my way to fire up the Rift to play Dead and Buried. But right there, grab it on the Quest and just play it. And I have now the first time I played Dead and Buried on both systems, they look damn near identical to me, which they still do. But I did realize that after playing it enough times, I do see that the PC version is a little bit sharper. For the most part, the colors are about the same, and but the PC version of it is slightly sharper. But make no mistake about it. Oh, by the way, in Dead and Buried 2, that's also a cross-buy game. That's another reason. I think the Quest situation is a good game, a good situation because a good amount of those games on there are cross-buy. But I would caution you not to assume that any game on the Quest is cross-buy. You'll need to look it up first because Oculus doesn't exactly tell you whether it's cross-buy or not. I made that mistake with Gorn. I bought Gorn for the Oculus Rift thinking it was going to be cross-buy on the Quest, but the game isn't even out on the Quest yet. But Let me see. Games like Arizona Sunshine, which I never thought it was a bad game. I just thought it was overpriced, and I didn't buy it for the. I didn't buy it until I caught it on sale. Hold on a second. I gotta need to get a little airflow in here. Just a second. So with Arizona Sunshine, um, when it was on sale, I bought it when it was on sale, and it wasn't a bad game. But again, I thought it was overpriced. I thought $40 was a bit much for that game, and I got it on sale for like $13. And then when it came to the Quest, it was not cross buy, and I was considering buying it because I think it was $30 on the Quest. I was Cold Yogurt. What's up? I was considering buying it, but I got lucky on that one. The developer of Arizona Sunshine said gamertag VR four keys to share with us, and so I got Arizona Sunshine in that manner. So thank God. I mean, that saved me about $30 because I was like caught between a rock and a hard spot whether to buy it on the Quest or not because I did like the game that much. You know, so yeah, like the Arizona Sunshine, if you're into that, be warned that that game is not cross-buy. Um, but getting back to the story about the situation with how I nearly sold my Oculus Quest. So again, I bought the Rift S. My son, first thing came out of his mouth was he loved how clear the Rift S was, and he also noticed that the Rift S the colors didn't pop as much as the CV1. So after coming over here for a few weeks, we talked. He didn't directly ask me. We talked. We just had several conversations, and it eventually led to me saying, "Okay, I'll see what I can do about getting you um, a gaming PC." And then he popped the question. It was like, "Are you going to get me a Rift S?" And I said, "We'll look into it." And so I got him the PC, and it was $700. It was on sale. It was normally $850. So I got him the PC, and I didn't want to immediately drop $400 for the Rift S. So I gave him my CV1 to get him by, and then I bought him the Rift S, and took the CV1 back, and then but before I bought the Rift S, I told him, I said, this can go one of two ways. I said, if you waiting for me to get the money to outright buy you a Rift S, it's going to take a while. I said, or I can sell off some of your items to get the money to get you a Rift S. And he said, sell the Quest. And I said, okay. And he said, sell my PS4. And I said, okay. So I took the Quest and I took the PS4, and I was going to put the Quest up for sale, but something says, great, I'm working though. You the other Lincoln? All right. You said I bought Arizona Sunshine PSVR on sale, Shats. All right, cool. Um, so yeah, something in my gut told me do not sell that Oculus Quest because I deep down inside, I had this funny feeling that if I sold it, I was going to end up regretting it because I had this feeling that once more and more games start coming to the Quest, I was going to want it back, and I feared that I might come across a situation like what's going on right now. People are having a hard time getting a Quest right now because it's sold out, and I've joined a couple of Quests. I've joined a couple of Oculus communities on the Facebook. I joined a one community on Facebook. It's simply called Oculus Quest, and it's got 34,000 members. Every day I see posts about people who either just got a Quest, people who are trying to get a Quest, but they have to wait until January, 12th or something like that. And but which is always a great post to see. I love seeing these posts of people who are getting ready to take that dive into VR. So I actually love the this Quest community that I'm part of. Resell it for 800 and get a Valve Index. That always crosses my mind every time I get a new device, and it, where you say resell it for 800 and get a Valve Index. Stuff like that always crosses my mind when I get hold of a new product, and there's high demand and short supply. It always crosses my mind to sell it and like double what I paid for it, but something in me just won't let me do it because I just rather keep it. But now, more and more games are popping up for the Quest, and it's becoming obvious. These developers, Jemiah Dixon, what's up? It's becoming obvious. These developers, they know that I think now, I think we've gotten to the point with the success of the Oculus Quest. If developers, I think their games, depending on what it is, might have the best chance of success on the Oculus Quest. You said, "Just kidding. Keep the Quest. Better community." Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know you were kidding, but I still wanted to answer that anyway because, when the 360, the Xbox 360 was in high demand and short supply, and I seen people selling them on eBay for $1,000 and that kind of shit. It crossed my mind to put it on eBay, but I was like, if I sell this on eBay, I was like, it doesn't matter if I get $2,000 for it. I'm gonna have a hell of a time trying to get another one because they were that hard to get. The PS4, when it first launched, same deal. It sold like hotcakes. I think they sold like 2 million units the first week that it released. And then after that, it was like the next wave didn't come for like 2 months or something like that with the PS4. You get they get the trickling over here, over there. You said any new games for your Quest that I'm looking forward to. One of the games that I'm looking forward to is not solely for the Quest. It's across all formats, and it's cross-play. Is Population 1. I never thought I would be looking forward to a battle royale game, especially one that mimics Fortnite. But this game screams Fortnite. The characters on there can fly, amongst other things, and you build your fort. You fortify your fort or whatever. But it really looks interesting. So whenever you guys get a chance, check out Population 1. And that is a I think it's supposed to come here. I think it's supposed to be coming out shortly. I think it's supposed to be coming out in the first quarter of 2020. So I'd like to think we'll see it within a couple of months. But again, it is cross-play. Sorry, it is cross-play. So, Quest users will be able to play with PC people. So that's one of the games I'm looking forward to that's coming to the Quest. Medal of Honor VR, I don't know if that's going to come to the Quest or not. But I never really gave it much thought about whether or not I'm looking forward to any games that's coming to the Quest. Every time a new game comes out on PC and I play it, one of the things that pop in my head is, hey, I wonder what this game would look like on the Quest. That's kind of what my mindset is every time a new game comes out. And when they do a stealth launch like they did on the night of the Game Awards when Path of the Warrior came out, I absolutely love that. That came out of nowhere. Same thing with Star Trek Bridge Crew. It came out of nowhere. I mean, again, to tell that story with Star Trek Bridge Crew, I was at work and I'm looking for content to watch, and I saw Gamertag VR. It said that he was streaming Star Trek Bridge Crew, and I'm like, why is he streaming a game that's about 2 years old? And then I did a double take, and I saw Quest, and I was like, what? And so I clicked on the video, and you could tell it was the Quest because the graphics were good, but they weren't as detailed as they were on PC. And I said, holy shit, and I was like, smoked the tires to get home. so I could hurry up and buy it and play it because I love Star Trek Bridge Crew, and then not only that, I've told this emotional story before that once I saw that Star Trek Bridge Crew was on the quest, one of the first things that popped in my head is that I'll finally be able to show my father this, before he passes on. So yeah, the Star Trek Bridge Crew coming to the quest was huge for me because I love the game, and it was a very touching moment for me to be able to show it to my father. Cold Yogurt, flat gaming is so sober, it's so sobering. All they got left is to talk about D flops and graphics. It's like Ultra 4K. Not many buying that when you can stream movies now. Yeah. You know what? I bought a TV a couple of years ago because I was going nuts buying TVs when I was still flat screen gaming, because I wanted the best possible TV that I could afford. And in Hisense, Andre 6K was good, my guy. Hisense was a great brand for the money. So long story short, I bought several Hisense TVs, and then I bought like their top of the line model because, yeah, I see what you mean, Cold Yogurt. It's so boring. The Hisense TVs that I had was the H6, which is actually a great TV. And you know what? And before I go any further, for those that's not in the VR that where flat screen gaming is still your preference, there is no reason you shouldn't be able to get a 65-inch TV now. If you're a true gamer and you like the flat screen and you got a man cave mentality, in my opinion, there's no reason why getting a 65-inch TV should be on your bucket list. And they are dirt cheap now. I couldn't believe what I saw. The Hisense H6. I had a Hisense H6 65-inch TV. This TV was originally $1,000 when I first saw it. When I bought it, it had came down to $750, and just over time it kept coming down and down and down. Well, I was in Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and this Hisense 65-inch 4K TV with HDR was $379. That was not a sale price. That was a permanent price. There is no reason, if you're a flat screen gamer and you always wanted the game on a big TV, there is no reason you shouldn't have gotten a 65-inch TV now. Even over the last couple of years. When Black Friday would come along, the TLCs would go down to $400 or whatever the case may be. But now, $400, give or take, is the entry price for a 65-inch 4K TV. So there's no reason. If you love flat screen gaming, to me, a 65-inch TV should be on your bucket list. I think I said what's up to you, Cyber Dragon, but I'll say it again. What's going on, my guy? I'm going to come back to this Quest thing in a minute, but, I got caught up talking about this TV stuff for a minute because that was on my mind, when I walked into Walmart and Best Buy and stuff like that and seen how cheap these 65-inch 4K TVs are now. So give or take, $400 is the entry for a 65-inch 4K TV. Grab a drink here while I try to gather my thoughts. Oh, I think where I was eventually trying to go with this is, so I bought Hisense's top of the line TV at the time. It was the Hisense H9 Plus. It supports HDR10. It has built-in Chromecast, and I never realized that a built-in Chromecast was a good feature until I was able to sync my Oculus Quest up to it. Then I was like, damn, now I got some use for this Chromecast, because I had never used it until I synced my Oculus Quest up to the built-in Chromecast in the TV. I mean, but you can buy it for as cheap as $35 if you want to just go buy the little module or whatever. But still, though, for that feature to be built in, that was cool. And this Hisense H9 that I have is a 65-inch TV. I paid $1,000 for it at the time that it came out, and so once it became time that this TV was about to be discontinued, the TV was as cheap as $600. I wanted to buy another one just for the simple fact that it was that cheap, even though I don't have the room for it and don't have any use for it. I wanted to buy it again anyway because this Hisense H9, I believe, had a picture that was comparable to the Samsung Q6. Those Q6 TVs by Samsung, you got the Q6, Q7, Q8, Q9. You know, Q8 and Q9, you know, for a 65-inch TV, now you're looking at, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for those TVs. And no, that Hisense doesn't compare to them. But those the Q6, that's their bottom of the line TV out of those Q series TVs. And that Hisense that I got, I believe, was comparable to the Q6. So why pay $2,000? I think it went for like $1,700. Why pay $1,700 for that Samsung when I can buy this Hisense that has a picture that's similar to it for $1,000? I love my toys, but at the same time, I can be a bargain hunter too. So where I was going with this is a short story that I made extra long. So where I'm going with this is that VR, eventually my next move for TV, I was eventually going to get one of those LG OLED TVs. And the one that I was looking at, a 65-inch OLED TV that was about as thick as a credit card. One of those TVs was about $2,500 for a 65-inch TV. That was going to be my next move. But after I got turned out to VR, I was like, buy a TV for what? I mean, I barely watch TV. When I do, it's usually YouTube. So there's no need for me to get another TV. So that's what VR has done for me. But it, oh, Cyber Dragon, you said Shats and Yogurts just sub to you both. Okay, cool. Excuse me. So, again, you know, and making that closing argument that if you have a flat screen TV, I feel like anything less than a 60-inch TV is unacceptable. I remember when I called myself making an upgrade. When I bought my first 4K TV, it was a Vizio 55-inch 4K TV. I paid $650 for it, and I thought it was a great looking TV. It didn't have HDR because HDR was a new feature at the time. So TVs that had HDRs was they cost quite a bit more. Even the cheaper brand TVs that had HDR, it would still cost you a few $100s more. Nonetheless, that Vizio actually looked pretty good, even though it didn't have HDR. And my thought was that I gotta have a bigger TV, because even back in the days when projection TVs was still a big thing, I had a 60-inch projection TV and I had a 51-inch projection TV. But that 60-inch projection TV, that was like having a big ass freezer in my living room. But so after having that 55-inch Vizio, I said I got to get a bigger TV, and then so I bought that 55-inch Vizio, and that was it. As far as my living room goes, I will have nothing less than a 65-inch TV, even if I have to wait years to get it. Now this 65-inch Hisense that I have is more than enough to get me by for years, as far as I'm concerned. But if I decided I want to buy another TV, it will be, at least for the living room, it will be a 65-inch TV, nothing less. I have a 55-inch TV in my bedroom. And the only reason why I didn't get anything bigger than that is because my bedroom was just too small. I mean, that 55-inch, looks like a 60-inch at night, when I'm watching TV. Cyber Dragon, no VR yet. My backlog for me is too huge. Once I drastically reduce my backlog, VR will be purchased to create a new backlog. But I'm telling you this, Cyber Dragon, especially when the next generation hits, like when the PS5 hits, I've said that before, that's going to open the floodgates, and you're going to see so many different VR games coming out. And and with Horizon Zero Dawn being one of the rumored games that's supposed to come out for the PlayStation 5 in VR, I don't know, my guy. I think if you were to play something like that when it hits, you might forget about that flat screen backlog that you have, my guy. Man, like that backlog that I got right now, my flat screen games, it's over, man. Those games, I'm not coming back to those. I gotta be real with myself. I'm not coming back to those games. They good games, but they flat screen. Hell, I can't even get to my VR backlog. So, Cyber Dragon, he's telling me, Code Yogurt's telling Cyber Dragon, VR is like that Tron movie. It's the closest thing to Star Trek, Holodeck, and Matrix. Yeah. And the thing about it was, VR wasn't that thing that just took me by storm. It was an acquired taste. I had to keep plugging away at it. And then the more experiences that started coming my way, the more entrenched I got in VR, and to the point where, like, ain't no turning back. I'm in this. Like, I'll be playing VR until I can no longer play again. Whether it evolves into a situation where I'm wearing AR glasses and playing games on that inside my apartment, or wherever I might be living at the time. However this thing evolves, some kind of reality product is going to be with me until I can no longer play again. Shats, you said I've been playing VR 95% of the time. It truly made me not care about 4K flat. Same thing, exactly. Is VR that, like, if it wasn't for VR, that LG OLED TV that I was talking about getting, I would have bought it by now. Because I would have wanted it bad enough to go ahead and buy it. And I got money tucked away, so I mean, I can buy toys whenever I jump up and feel like it, but buying another TV, that's the one thing where I would be truly wasting money. And I never, ever in my wildest dreams thought the day that would come that I would be saying buying a TV would be a waste of money, because I was that dude that, like, whatever the new technology is, I'm always 2 or 3 years behind that technology. I buy it at a time where the technology is still at the forefront, but it has become affordable. But the new technology is a few years away. So I usually catch whatever the current technology is, I usually catch it in the middle of its life cycle. And because of that, I always felt like I'm always going to, TVs were always going to be a part of my entertainment. But that's gone now, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I still love my 65-inch TV, especially, with me having that Fire Stick. And, like, whenever there's a big pay-per-view fight that's about to come on, I love being able to watch that fight on my 65-inch TV. But at the same time, it's nothing for me to grab that Fire Stick and take it into my bedroom and plug it up to my 55-inch TV either. So that's where I'm at on that. You said be careful with the word toys. Oh yeah, I know. You know what? Because you're talking about that debate that Sick Humor had about the difference between a toy and a tool, and that's a that's a debate that could go on for a while because I don't know. I think my definition of a toy in today's society, anything that, like, when I come home from work, anything that I do that makes me forget about the entire world, that makes me forget about work, that makes me forget that I gotta pay rent coming up here, that I got a car payment to make, that I gotta pay insurance, that I gotta pay these credit card bills. Anything that I enjoy doing that makes me forget about all that stuff for the time being, depending on what it is, I could consider it a toy. And and VR is something that can be defined as a tool and a toy. For me, VR would be defined as a toy because when I play VR, I forget about everything. I forget about work. I forget about the world outside. Um, I forget about anything that might be stressing me out. You know, um, in the gym used to be that vice. I still work out, but I don't go to the gym anymore. I work out from home. But the gym used to be that vice that would make me forget about everything. But really, what the gym was doing was I was taking my anger to the gym. Somebody make me mad, I go to the gym and I grab that dumbbell and squeeze the shit out of it. And I would imagine that dumbbell is that person's neck that made me mad. And it would motivate me to work out even harder at the gym. Um, I still work out, but the rage ain't there the way it used to be when I first started working out because a lot of rage is what fueled the way I worked out in the gym. Um, but that was a stress release rather than viewing that as a toy or a hobby. VR, on the other hand, it does more than make me forget about the world. I enjoy the world that I'm in. I don't think, you said VR is like the force, it surrounds you, all around you. I think that's a good way to put it, cold yogurt. But it makes you forget everything. And it's like, these people, everybody in here that's watching this video, watching this stream, this VR centric, they gotta know what I'm talking about. They gotta be on the same page with me. And shit, those VR communities that I joined on Facebook, seeing all those feel good stories of people who just got a quest, people who got a quest on order, people who saying that I'm getting ready to order my quest right now, and something like that. And then you have people posting videos of their first experience with a quest, or they got a family member who just tried a quest. Like, all that stuff feels good. It's so positive. And like, there might be days where I might be laying around on my ass just surfing the web, whatever, and then I go to one of those Facebook communities, the quest communities, and I see people playing VR or see all these posts, and I'm like, damn, let me get up, play some Dead and Buried, just that quick, jump up, play Dead and Buried for about a half hour. Yeah, Shats, VR and gaming in general is my escape from reality. It always has been. Same here. It is my escape. And VR video games have always been my escape. Now, with me being 52 years old, I'd say 30 years ago, it was a totally different society in terms of like dating, because women despised video games back then. So if I went on a date, and planned to bring her back to my home, I had to hide the video game console, because if she saw the video game console, underneath my TV, then she was already gonna judge me and figured that, okay, I'm a dude that don't have no life. I spend all my time playing video games. That I'm not going to be able to give her the attention that she wants and all that kind of shit. So I would have to hide my video game consoles. But now, putting it simply, I don't give a fuck. You know, somebody come over here and they see 19 VR headsets laying around, you either deal with it or you don't. You know, I do not care. I'm not giving up my passion. I love VR and I'm not giving it up for nobody. So, JD Max, what is going on? Cold Yogurt, you should set a schedule on your streams. Viewers like schedule, then your channel can grow. A couple of things about that, Cold Yogurt. For one thing, if my channel grows, that's great. But my channel growing is not, that's not a top priority. All I ever wanted to do when I came to YouTube is just get my channel big enough to be able to interact with you guys the way I am right now. I like my channel where it is. I'm closing in on 600. I'm closing in on 600 subs, and that ain't shit to a lot of people, but it's huge to me because the channel's big enough that when I go live, enough of you guys are in here that I can carry on the conversation. And to me, giving my opinions, sharing my opinions with you guys, and hearing your feedback, hearing your opinions and your thoughts, that's the big part of doing these streams to me. So in that aspect, I really don't care if my channel grows. If it does, it's great. But and then as far as setting a schedule goes, I hate to do that because I don't want to set a schedule and then I totally forget that I'm supposed to do this stream. And then everybody's just looking at a black screen and like, hey, where's Lincoln at? And then yeah, I get what you're saying because you don't know when I'm on. You know, YouTube is funny with these notifications, you know. So that part I get. You know, YouTube is a little bit funny. But I'm one of these dudes that spur the moment. I didn't plan to do a stream today because I did that stream a couple of days ago. And because I had already did a stream and there wasn't much news this week, I didn't plan on doing a stream today. And I was like, hey, you know, I want to go live. I want to talk to everybody. I want to interact with everybody. So I found a subject to come up with, you know, and said it'll be good for VR. And JD Max, my family always knows that dad needs his alone time, aka race time. Yeah, you got that right. I swear to God, you know, like I'm hoping to move into a bigger place next year, and if that happens, where I have at least a two bedroom place, the second bedroom is going to be dedicated to VR. Everything's going to be in there. You know, no beds, no nothing. Everything in there is going to be gaming related. If there's a table in there, it's because that table is needed to set my PC on or whatever the case may be. But, you know, I want to put a green screen in there and everything because I want to do those mixed reality type videos where I insert myself in the video instead of you guys getting this camera cut out in the corner of the screen like you're seeing. Yeah, you know, I'm watching you, Cyber Dragon. I watch your gaming streams, and I see, you know, I see where you coming from. You know, you on the same page with me, where you doing it for the love. You know, you're not trying to grow your channel, and you're not necessarily trying to make that a priority to grow your channel or try to get to the point where you're trying to monetize this. I don't care about that. You know, I mean, I work and even if my channel grew big enough to monetize it, the money that I would get wouldn't mean anything. And I mean, if I really felt like I wanted to monetize this channel, I would be putting links to PayPal and Cash Apps, and Patreons and all that kind of stuff. Now, no, my channel's not big enough that where I'd be like, oh, come to my Patreon. You know, I don't want to do that shit, you know, and put content behind paywalls and, oh, you know, I give you the rated G version, but if you want to see the rated R version, then you got to subscribe to my Patreon and that kind of shit. I don't want to do that stuff, man. And like what I'm giving you right now, I'm giving you 100% of what I feel right now, and I'm not, like people who try to push their Patreon, they only give you tidbits of what they are like, and then try to get you to pay for it to see the rest of them. I don't want to do that, and and again, I don't go putting links to Cash Apps and PayPal's and that stuff because I don't care about trying to make money, and I don't care about donations. If what's up, Mick? If somebody sends me something, Happy New Year to you too, Mick. If somebody sends me something, that's great. I've gotten a couple of donations, but it didn't come through a PayPal or anything like that. I got it through Twitter, where somebody would say, "Hey, check your Twitter," and I would go check my Twitter, and there'd be a code there, and it would be, it'd be a code for a PSN gift card or something like that. You said you're downloading Dead and Buried 2 now on Quest. The one thing I will say, Shats, is give the game a chance. As far as the graphics goes, you're not going to be impressed with the graphics. It is some cartoony graphics. So when you first see the game, if you're looking for Lone Echo type graphics, no, you're not going to get it. But give the game a chance, give it some time, and especially once you start to get good at the game, you're going to like it. I really think you will. And I absolutely enjoy killing people with the grenade launcher on Dead and Buried 2. Because when I used to play Halo, when I used to play Halo 2, and Halo 3 for that matter, that was one of the ways that I never needed to grab any of the other weapons. Because what I would do, my strategy for killing people is that I would bounce the grenade right in front of them. So the object wasn't to kill them with the grenade. The object was for the grenade to get a piece of them. And then when they try to jump out of the way to avoid the grenade, then I could shoot them out of the air with my standard machine gun. I never needed to upgrade my weapons on Halo. And in the case of Dead and Buried 2, that grenade launcher is a one-hitter quitter. If you catch them just right, and I bounce that, as they're coming at me, I bounce that grenade right in front of them, so they basically run into the explosion and get killed. So again, Shats, I hope you like, Dead and Buried 2. I do believe Oculus has a return policy similar to Steam. Steam's policy is if you ask for a refund within 2 days, but you haven't played the game more than 2 hours, more than likely you'll get a refund. And I think Oculus's refund policy is similar to that. But I hope you do like the game, and I would say just give it a chance if it doesn't hit you like a load of bricks when you first play it. JD Max, it says I just live stream and that's it. No reviewing. I tried with PSVR, but too much work and expectation for me. It made me start thinking about gaming as a job, and I didn't want that. You do you. Yeah, exactly, JD Max. I got caught up in that stuff for a moment too, where I would do a stream, and I would come back and check out the stream, and I'm like, I didn't sound professional enough. I didn't sound like a radio announcer, and so I would spend a lot of time trying to script shit, whatever I was gonna say, to try to sound more professional. And then I was like, the hell with this. I'm just gonna wing it. I'm just gonna get out there and just speak from the heart and just stop trying to sound like Walter Cronkite, some shit like that. And then another thing about my channel not being monetized, I think what I say would be more believable. If you got somebody that's got 500,000 subs, anything that comes out of their mouth, I'm not gonna believe them. Not out the gate, because what's your angle? You know, especially if they got a 500,000 subscribers, and then before the video starts, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "This video was sponsored by so and so." You know, okay, you already set the tone right there to let us know that you already putting in a good word for the person that sponsored your stream. And then depending on what you're talking about, you know, what you say is not going to be from the heart. So I think with my channel not being monetized, in the amount of subs that I got, what comes out of my mouth is from the heart. And so even when I get developer keys from subs, I'm not going to trash their game, even if the game isn't for me. I'm not going to, "This is bullshit. I wouldn't buy it. It's trash. It's garbage." You know. Even if I buy the game with my own money and I don't care for the game that much, I'm not going to trash it. The only time I might get a little bit hard on a game is if the game is broken. It doesn't run right. If the game runs right, it's not my place to say that the game is trash because, you know, just because I don't like Budweiser doesn't mean that you're going to dislike Budweiser. You know, I'm just using that as an example because I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in 8.5 years, but that's just, you know, where I'm going with that. Just because I don't like Coca-Cola doesn't mean that you're going to dislike it as well. So if the game runs like it's supposed to, everything I say about the game is opinionated, but I'll still try to be professional about it. If the game is broken to the point where it's intolerable, then yeah, I'm going to be honest about it. Like, this game is broken. I wouldn't buy it right now. You know, wait for updates to come up, wait for them to patch it, that kind of stuff. And then I might tell you that, hey, I might revisit it again once they put patches in place. But you're not going to hear me say that a game is trash. You know, because especially with these indie developers, you know, this is their living. And a lot of these indie developers are, you know, creative with these games because these indie developers, they set the tone for the experiences that we're going to get in VR. You know, like, so for instance, when the PS5 hits and VR would possibly become mainstream, and then let's say the PS5 comes out and then Call of Duty finally comes to VR, fully playable. It's gonna take off. You know, it's gonna take off like wildfire. It's gonna sell like hotcakes. I truly believe that. But it wouldn't have gotten there without the indie developers that put in the blood, sweat, and tears that came up with these first-person shooters to begin with. So that's another reason why I won't just outright trash somebody's game. So the big thing that I'll do is like, hey, this is what the game seems to be about as far as the story goes. You know, Star Trek Bridge Crew is a prime example. Hey, if you like space exploration and you're a big fan of the Star Trek series, I say go for it. That's what you're going to get from me. But at the same time, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, if you're not into this kind of stuff, I can't say whether you're going to like it or not. That's what you're going to get from me. I'm not going to say Star Trek Bridge Crew is trash. You ain't going to get that from me. So I think going on to the next subject, so in the Facebook community that I'm part of, is the community. What's up, D-Truth? What's going on? How you been, man? Ain't seen you in a while. So with this Facebook community, I just happened to stumble across this post. The guy's name is DeMarcus. I'm going to leave it at that. He had high praise about Racket Fury. He said it's his favorite game on the Quest, and he plays the game for hours a day. And this game is out on other platforms. I think it's on PC VR. It's definitely on PlayStation VR. and it has player versus player, I believe, across all formats. I don't know about the quest, but I know you can do two versus. I think you can do. I think it said two player network, whatever, or two something like that. I don't know. I don't know if you can do two versus two or whatever case may be. But in any case, it is player versus player on I think across the board. Now, any table tennis game that comes out, even back in the flat screen back in the flat screen days, any table tennis game would always catch my eye because I've been playing table tennis since I was 7 years old. Which back when I was a kid, it was called ping pong. Some people get a little uptight when you call table tennis ping pong, but that's what it was called when I was growing up as a kid. So back in, I believe, 1974, when my parents moved into their house, I think about maybe 6 months, a year after we moved into that house, my father bought a ping pong table. So forgive me if I keep saying ping pong. That's just what I grew up. That's the way it was called when I grew up. So my father bought a ping pong table, and my father was the best on the block. And two things that my father was really good at. He was good at ping pong, and he was damn near a mastermind at chess. My father loved chess, and no, he didn't. He wasn't one of those dudes that been in jail for 6 months and then they come out being good at chess. My father just had a natural love for chess. Same thing, to tell that story, my father was so good at chess, and I think he had became such a legend at chess in our neighborhood that dudes that had been locked up for 6 months that think, all of a sudden think they a chess master, they would come to our house to challenge to take on my father. My father would beat all their asses. And my father played what he felt was a kamikaze style, because my father would send everything at you. The way I play, I'm a defensive minded player, and I was the type of person like my knights and queens. I was trying to hang on to them. My father, he'll send those at you first, and if you don't defend his queens and his rooks, he gonna destroy half your damn shit before you finally before you finally address that problem. So all these dudes was coming in our neighborhood wanting to challenge my father, and he was beating all their asses. Same thing with ping pong. He was a legend on our block, and all kinds of dudes was coming to challenge my father. And the crazy part about it was my father played without a handle. He took his table tennis paddle, his ping pong paddle. He took it and he broke it over his knee and broke the handle off and palmed it like that. That's how he played ping pong. And if you try to send the ball over to his left, he would do an under twist like this and smack it back at you. That's when he was young and he could move. But once he got older and old age started to set in, he couldn't move as much and his back would start aching and shit like that. That's when people kind of started getting the best of him, because I was never able to beat my father until he got old. And the thing about it was, my father would beat me. He would never blow me out because he didn't want me to get discouraged. He would beat me, but he would let the game be close enough that I would want to try harder to beat him the next time. And I don't think my father actually went all out on me until he started getting old and I started beating him. Then he started, going all out to try to beat me. But by then it was too late. I was a young lion then, and he was the old king that was about to be removed, so to speak. So I took over his spot, and I was the one beating everybody on the block. And the thing about it was, as my father was kind of grooming me, so to speak, in ping pong, I was a kid, 10 years old, I was beating grown men. Because I think by the time I was 10 years old, I had already been playing, ping pong for about 3 years. So I was already good at it. Like kids my age, I was destroying them. But grown men, yeah, I was beating some of them, but I was still getting beat by a lot of grown men at the same time. Now, there were some people that even when I became a grown man and I was destroying everybody on my block, there was like 3 or 4 people I could not get past. One of them was a cop. His name was Maurice, and he ran like a like one of the YMCA like community centers down the street from where I live. You know, he was in charge of one of those centers, and I used to go down there every day to play him, and that dude used to destroy me. I can't tell you how many times I played this dude, and I think I can count on one hand how many times I beat him. But he was a really good dude. He was well liked in the neighborhood. He was that one dude where when the police pulled up, you know, and they saw it was him, kids would run to him because they loved him. You know, he was great for the community. Another dude that I couldn't beat was this Vietnamese dude, and I'm telling it, you know, and I don't mean to make it sound racial, but ping pong to Asian people is what basketball is to black people. A lot of black people is good at basketball. A lot of Asians is good at ping pong. And the dude that I played against, the way me and him were going at it, it looked like something right out of a ping pong tournament on ESPN. But I couldn't beat this dude. I could give him a good fight, but I couldn't beat him. And then another person that I couldn't beat, and you're probably going to be shocked about this, was my uncle, Roger Mayweather. I could not beat him. And for a while, my uncle, Floyd Mayweather Sr., I couldn't beat him for a while. Now, my uncle, Jeff Mayweather, I used to destroy him because he was never, he was average as far as I'm concerned. But Floyd Mayweather Sr., he was pretty good, but Roger Mayweather was exceptional. I could never beat him. And then one of the things that, you know, Roger Mayweather had he had a really fast serve. And then the other thing that he would try to do is catch you off guard. He would talk trash to you and stuff like that. He would say something to you, and then the minute you try to say something back to him, boom, that ball goes smoking right past you. So he was pretty good. So I never really got a chance to get good enough to beat him because he was still in the middle of his boxing career, so he didn't come home that much. Whereas Floyd Sr., on the other hand, he was here a lot. Even though he was a trainer and his career was picking up as a trainer, he still came home a lot. So I had plenty of time to play him and eventually be able to beat him. And then I think the toughest pill I had to swallow was when my youngest brother started whooping my ass. My youngest brother's about 5 years younger than me. And when he was in his prime, he was beating everybody ass on the block. And I said, okay, it's time for me to show him I'm still the boss. And he whooped my ass. And then the thing about my youngest brother is he's left-handed. And he was attacking my weak side. So I was constantly on the defense. I was constantly in a position where all I could do was just try to meet the ball and send it back over the net. And because of that, he was always aggressive. He was always trying to smash the ball on me. So I said, I got to find a way to fight fire with fire. I got to find a way to put him in a position where he can't be aggressive. I have to put him in a position where all he can do is just try to meet the ball and send it back, and then I can continue to be aggressive. But that didn't work. So I tried to attack his weak side, and when I would attack his weak side, he would send the ball back at me just as fast as I sent it to him. So when my youngest brother started beating my ass, that was a very, very tough pill to swallow. And I think it was at that point that he said Clash of the Titans. It was at that point that I said, I think it's time to hang it up, you know. And I had kind of walked away from ping pong at that point. Every now and then I would make a cameo. If I'd see some people playing, I might occasionally jump in. But the one thing about when I was in my prime, my spike, I believe that I could spike the ball at least 70 miles an hour. It's like these PUG, Pug, what's going on? Like these agents, I'm telling it like it is. These dudes can spike that ball like over 100 miles an hour. I believe I could probably spike the ball at about 70. Because a lot of times when I spike the ball on somebody, um, if you let me set my feet and wind up from way back here and spike that ball, a lot of times it wasn't coming back. Now the people that was good enough to send the ball back at me, and they could send the ball back to me just as fast as I sent the ball at them, those was the dudes that I had the problem beating. So, which brings us to Racket Fury. So, you know, I know I told a super long story, but I love sharing some of these stories when I was young. You know, I got a lot of stories when I was young. You know, with my father growing up on Mayweather, you know, I got a lot of stories about that. But getting back to this Racket Fury, so guy named DeMarcus, he talked about how good this game is. He talked about the physics of the game, and I have been curious about this game for a while because, again, I've been playing ping pong since I was 7 years old, so I was curious about the game. And finally, I said, "The hell with it, I'm gonna go ahead and try it." And I saw that the game was $20 on the Quest, so I was like, "Okay, I guess it's worth the risk." So I played it, and I was highly impressed with it. You know, at first, the only thing that made me apprehensive about Racket Fury is that a robot sitting on the other end. I wanted to see a person on the other end. You said they have that Olympic training, yeah. You say, hey, cool stories, man. Hey, I always enjoy sharing these kind of story chats. So I played it, and the physics of the game and the sound effects of the game, it was like, if I close my eyes, the sound effects of that game are so authentic that it took me back. I was like, for a minute, I was in my parents' basement again, playing ping pong. That's how good the effects were. So I was playing against the AI, and the AI is tough. Because the thing about the AI is the AI will return everything you send at him. And the thing about the AI is anybody who knows how to play ping pong in real life, when you send the ball directly at your opponent's belly button and they stand there, they're handcuffed. They can't wind up like this to try to spike the ball at you. And unless they got a good backhand. It said, Link, have you played Spark? Yeah, Spark is another good game. I played Spark on PSVR, and I love the spectator feature because when you're spectating on Spark, the two people that are actually playing, they're inside a really small court, and you look like 100-foot giant watching. And the crazy part about it is when you're actually in a game. Actually, I'll stream it for you guys. I'll stream it for you guys today so you can see what I'm talking about. I've done it before, but I'll do it again. When you're actually playing, you can look out the window and see the live spectators, and they look like 100-foot giants right out the window. So that's kind of freaky. So, but yeah, Spark is a good game. It's also a good game too if you want to get a workout in. But getting back to the AI, when they send that ball right at your belly button, it's hard. You handcuffed. All you can do is basically put the paddle right in front of the ball and just try to meet the ball and return it over the net. But that sets your opponent up because when a ball just barely lofts over the net like that, that sets them up so they can wind up. So yeah, the AI is tough. I'm sure you can change the settings on it, but the AI was tough. And so I played a live game against a person, and I lost. And the biggest reason why I lost is because the serve. You know, because I was kind of slapping it across my body, and that was slapping the ball right into the net. You know, so what I was having to do was like toss the ball up in the air and just give it a little pat so it can get over the net. I wish I could stream this for you guys, but I haven't got the Quest set up yet for that kind of stuff. I could double dip on this game and get it on the PlayStation VR or even get it on PC VR when it comes back, but this game, Undoubtedly, the Oculus Quest is the best way to play this game because you can move and don't have to worry about the wires. Um, Unfortunately, one of the things about the PlayStation VR when I get ready to play is that I have to untangle the wires before I play because the wires have coiled up on me, and I don't think that I can be 100% aggressive the way I want to be on this type of game because I'm constantly mindful of the wire that's behind me. And I'm worried that if I step on that cord and rip it out of the back of the headset, oh fuck, now I gotta go drop, another $300 to get another PSVR or another $400 to get a Rift S. So the Oculus Quest is undoubtedly the best way to play this game. Even with the downgrading graphics, any game that requires you to move around, in my opinion, the Oculus Quest is the best way to play the game because you don't have to worry about wires. And so, with that being said, I absolutely love this game. It's not a game that I'm going to be playing for hours and hours and hours, but the convenience of the Quest makes it easy for me to pick it up, put it on my head, play 2 or 3 matches, and then take it off. I love it. So this game to me is a sleeper. I think if you like table tennis, I think this is definitely a must. And then the physics of the game. You said D-Truth, you said I think I'll pick up Spark and Racket Fury. I've been buying mostly shooters for VR. Let me see, it's 10 o'clock. I don't know. I don't know, depending on how I feel. I could are the Quest graphics better than PSVR? Not outright, because you're dealing with a mobile processor with the Quest. I think you're dealing with that Snapdragon 86, whatever's in there, and that's a mobile processor. And that's not the case with the PS4. So, PC, like a lot of the graphics, I'll put it this way with the graphics. PC is usually the best. PSVR is usually second, and the Quest is usually third. But you can't make that comparison. In my opinion, do not buy any of these Quest games with the expectations of seeing graphics that's just as good as PC. It's an unrealistic expectation. And to take the Nintendo Switch for instance, you're not gonna buy a game on the Nintendo Switch with the expectations that game would look just as good as a game that's on PC or the PlayStation Pro or the Xbox One X. It's unrealistic. Nobody would buy a game with those kind of expectations on the Nintendo Switch. Nobody buys that. Anybody buys a game on a Nintendo Switch is either because they have an exclusive that you absolutely been wanting, or you like the convenience of being able to take it with you wherever you go. Here, the Quest is the same way. If you can put the graphics thing out of your head, you will definitely be happy with it. But compared to what I was seeing when I first got the Quest, because I judged the Oculus Quest on what I saw on PokerStars VR, because the graphics on PokerStar VR, it was definitely a noticeable downgrade. And the characters, their live characters look like something right out of it looked like something right out of PS1. So when I first saw that, I was like, hey, I don't know about this. I don't know if I want to be playing some games where graphics look like it's right out of the PS1. But that's not the case. These games are looking better and better on the Quest. And the Star Trek Bridge Crew was definitely one of the games that I was highly impressed with how it looked on the Quest. Arizona Sunshine is another game that I was impressed with how it looked on the Quest. Vader Immortal is another game that I was highly impressive with the way it looked on the Quest. The graphics is not too far off from the Oculus Rift version. The biggest difference is, it comes at the expense of textures and sharpness. But for the most part, Vader Immortal looks goddamn good on the Oculus Quest. So when you can approach it that way, If you can approach it that way, yeah. Yeah, no question about it. Cold yogurt. GT said Quest Star Trek Bridge crew graphics are not better as PSVR. They're not, but I believe the game is cross-buy. So if you buy it for the Quest, you'll have it on the Oculus Rift. And the graphics on the Oculus, especially the Oculus Rift S, the graphics on that is noticeably better than the PlayStation VR because there's no blur. So that's another advantage to having a Quest. If you already got an Oculus Rift and you got a Quest, that's another advantage to buy in games on the Oculus platform is for the cross-buy. So look at that, my man. Oh, my man Craig Harris is playing Mass Effect 2, Paradise Decay. This was at 9 o'clock, so he's probably done with it by now, but it looks like a game called VSBY Archer. First impressions on, looks like on Oculus Rift. So, another thing, so getting back to Racket Fury, another thing that I was impressed with is that the physics are so good that you can put spin on the ball. When I was a kid, they called that putting English on the ball. Putting top spin on the ball, putting back spin on the ball. And if you know how to use the term that I grew up with, if you know how to put English on the ball, you don't have to be one of those people that will spike the shit out of the ball that's trying to spike the ball at 100 miles an hour. If you know how to put English on the ball, it will like throw somebody for a loop because I've seen crazy looking shit where I played against people that could put English on the ball and the ball would come at me like this, and as soon as it hits the table, it would jump totally in the other direction. And that shit was like a Barry Sanders move. It like threw me off balance. There was a couple of times I fell and like landed on my arm and shit like that because the English on the ball just like totally messed me up. And that's how good the physics are on Rocket Fury. You know how to put English on that ball. Same thing there. You could throw somebody off. So, in Racket Fury is a good enough game that I would like to double dip on it. But the biggest concern is the wire behind my head. Playing the game. But I think one of the things I could do is like contact the developer and ask them for a key, and let them know that I'll stream the game. If they send me a key, that's another option. So if something like that were to happen, like if I were a day like today, if I were to contact the developer, if they were willing to give me a key and they stay up to date on the emails they receive, I'd say if I were to contact them today, I would probably, if they were to give me a key, I would probably get it by, say, Tuesday. So, it is a great game. And if you love table tennis, that's, to me, it's a must-have. I think I've only played a few table tennis games as far as video games go. But I think Racket Fury is by far the best one that I've ever played so far, VR or flat screen. D-Truth, you said, only problem I have with the PSVR is the screen door effect. Hopefully the PS5 will make it much better. But, the PSVR came out at a time when all three major headsets had glaring issues. In the case of the Oculus Rift CV1, and the PSVR, you had the blur in the background. And then the HTC Vive, you had blur in the background. But you could almost see individual pixels. Because the screen would look like a bunch of dots meshed together to form a picture. So back then, all the major headsets had glaring issues. Now we're going into that part, that stage where Um, with VR, we're at that point now where if the picture's not clear, it's like don't even bother making a headset. The Rift is clear, 1440 resolution. I believe the Valve Index, I think, might be 1600. The Samsung Odyssey Plus, I believe, is 1600. The Vive, the Vive Pro, HTC Vive Pro, I believe, is 1600. I believe the HP Reverb is 2160p. I think the Vive Cosmos is 1600. The Quest is 1600, but they had to do that because I will admit, because of the downgrade in graphics, some of these games are not razor sharp, and if it wasn't for the 1600, resolution of the Quest, they might not look that good. So I see why they had to put that 1600 on there. Um, the Rift S looks it's amazingly clear. I think the Rift S, in terms of having a clear picture, PC VR headset, I think the Rift S is the best bang for the buck. It's easy for me to say that because I haven't tried the Valve Index yet. I haven't tried the HP Reverb. I haven't tried the Cosmos. I haven't tried any of those Pimax headsets. But I almost feel like I don't need to. I mean, I hear mostly good things about the Valve Index, but I think the biggest thing that would make me want to be wanting to try the Valve Index would be the Knuckles controllers. Um, but once I get into a bigger place and I got more room to work with, then I could possibly explore the possibility of getting a Valve Index. Because I also feel like with those lighthouse spaces, that I would imagine that the better experience would be room scale rather than standing still. In the chats, he said, "Imagine the day we get a 4K VR or HMD." We're here. The HP Reverb is 2160, I believe. It's 2160 per eye. So we're here. If you want to put it that way, 4K is here, I believe. I just think with because the HP Reverb is a mixed reality headset and it only has two cameras, I think you're going to be limited in how many games are going to run good on it. The Truth, you say, yeah, I just got into VR on Thanksgiving, so I'm new to it. I can see the difference in old and current games. Farpoint is old, but damn, it looks good. Yeah. And see, and the thing about a game like Farpoint is that when the PS5 comes out, if that game were to get like a PS5 patch, so to speak, it's I think it's definitely going to look better. It's going to look noticeably better because a lot of the games do look good on the PlayStation VR. It's just some of them got that blur in the background, but for the most part, a lot of games look good on the PlayStation VR. Same thing with the Oculus Rift CV1. It has a resolution of 1200, and the PSVR has a resolution of 1080. But and so does the HTC Vive. The original one has a resolution of 1200, and they all look good. It's just all of them got a little bit of blur in the background, but the Rift S, no blur. The Quest, on the other hand, not as sharp as PZVR, but still looks good. So I think I will say this about the Quest, that I think the Quest might have less background blur than the PSVR, but the PSVR still does look better. So I think that's where I think that's the difference that I would sum up between between the PSVR and the Quest. You said Astrobot blew my mind. Yeah, and Astrobot proved that platformers can flourish in VR. I mean, we got a few of them. Got Moss. I think Hellblade. Well, I don't know if I consider a Hellblade um, a platformer, but a game where your character is in third person is in third person. Um, but yeah, I've got Astrobot. It's a great game. I'm stuck. The reason why I haven't finished that game because that was a game that I was really trying to finish, but there's a particular area where I got stuck and just can't get past it. So one second, everybody. Okay. But who's that? Who was that? D Truth though. I do hope that you got the aim controller for Farpoint because Farpoint is the game that introduced the aim controller. So I hope you got the aim controller because that is the icing on the cake for your experience. And in Farpoint, Farpoint was the first game I played with the aim controller, and Farpoint probably has to be the game as far as first person shooter goes. Farpoint had to be the game that made me like realize the potential of VR. Cause I was like, damn, this game has got a good story. The graphics are good, and the aim controller makes it a must try experience. But it didn't have player versus player, and they eventually added the update for player versus player. Now the thing about the player versus player is one versus one. The co-op was always there, but the one versus one that wasn't there. It's one versus one, but it's interesting though. It's an interesting type of one versus one because you can use your gun to like scan out creatures and send those creatures at your enemy to flush them out of hiding so you can get a shot at them. So the one versus one is actually fun. I haven't played it in God knows how long, but it's pretty good. Pretty good. You said the aim controller is the first thing I bought with the VR. Later, the move charger. Hey, absolutely. So, I still think Firewall is a must-have game. It still doesn't have host migration or dedicated servers yet, but despite that, I still think Firewall is still a must-have game. I still enjoy playing it. I played Firewall a couple of days ago, and I wasn't having any drifting issues with the controller, so it was actually an enjoyable experience. I hated that I had to leave when I did. So, but there's also going to be some amazing games. You know, D Truth, you might have got involved in VR at the perfect time because I think some of the games that's coming up this year, I think games are just getting ready to take us into the next generation. I feel like, based on what I saw, that Half-Life Alyx looks like a game to me that's a generational leap. You said you have been playing Firewall? Okay. All right, cool. You said it's the best first-person shooter so far. No doubt about that. There's not that many first-person shooter games on PlayStation VR, unfortunately. And that Warzone was to use the words of 7 Degrees of Gaming, that game was game was an abomination on PlayStation VR. This is a game that when it was first advertised, they were saying that this game was going to be 64 player, and when it came to PC VR, it was getting mixed reviews. And then they brought this game to the PlayStation VR, and it has no multiplayer whatsoever. You're playing against bots. That game probably had to be that game probably was the first slap in the face to the VR community. That this game was advertised as a 64 player multiplayer game, and it never materialized on the PlayStation VR. And you playing, the graphics was horrible from what I saw. The graphics was horrible, and the multiplayer was not there, and they still sold this game for $15. It should have been free to play. Um, so that game was an absolute slap in the face to the VR community. To me, Sony should be ashamed of themselves for letting that game onto the PlayStation VR platform, especially with the strict requirements that I hear that they have. Cold Yogurt, you said once I played Firewall all night till 7 a.m. Well, shit. Go back to um, the day that Firewall released. If you know that exact day, I did two streams because like I was so excited for Firewall because I was like, this is what I've been looking for VR. As far as first person shooter goes, I was like, we finally gonna get what I've been wanting. But I didn't know that over on PC that games like Onward was already out there. Onward was what I was looking for in terms of like first person shooter that are multiplayer, because I think before Firewall came along, as far as multiplayer games, the best you were going to get was this game called Smashbox Arena. It looked like some kid shit. To me, it looked like a game that was only worth $5. And I said, I don't want to have a shooter game. I don't want to play this shit that bad where I'm going to buy something that I'm just not attracted to. And then not only that, the aim controller wasn't out at the time. So when Firewall came out, man, like when Firewall, as far as VR goes, when Firewall came out, that felt like Christmas. On the day that Firewall released, I think I did like a 4-hour stream called Countdown to Firewall. Because what I was doing was like every 15 minutes, I was like T minus 33 hours and 45 minutes. And then once the game finally unlocked at midnight, I hooked up with Sick Humor. And then I think we played for like 3 hours. And I had to be at work. I think when I finally went to bed, I went to bed at 3:30 and had to turn around and get back up at 5 to get ready for work. Like, the day that Firewall released, that'll be a day that I'll always remember. That was one of the most amazing moments that I ever had in VR. So they continue to support the game by adding operators, adding weapons, adding maps. And yeah, they did monetize the game with a couple of microtransactions, a couple of, I think, like season passes or something like that, but they're not mandatory because you'll get the maps free regardless. You said, do people still play Rigs? I wanted to get that game, but was skeptical about the player base. Yes, that game is no longer supported. Now, I think the on live is, I think, multiplayer is still active. But I can't go back to that game because that is like, when I first got onto the PlayStation VR format and motion sickness was becoming an issue, Rigs made me feel the worst out of any game that I was playing. Actually, Drive Club VR made me motion sick the first time I tried it. Batman Arkham VR, Resident Evil. These were the first games that I played that involved teleportation as a means of travel. So that took some getting used to. That was throwing me off a little bit and making me motion sick. And so yeah, those 4 games: Resident Evil, Batman Arkham VR, Drive Club, and Rigs. Those are the games that stood out that was making me sick, and Rigs was the worst of them. Yeah, even Star Blood Arena was making me sick for a moment. Valkyrie was making me sick, and it was more me than it was the game because I was new to VR. And yeah, I experienced it a couple of times when they were doing demos at Best Buy, but then like when I actually had it in my hand and I had hours to play the game, yeah, those were the games that was making me sick. And I had to, and I saw some videos and learned that you could drink ginger ale, that'll basically settle your stomach and alleviate motion sickness. So if you experience any motion sickness, you like a game but it's making you sick, drink ginger ale. That you won't get sick. So, but I think even to this day, Rigs is still one of the games that make me feel a little bit funny because it's a lot of jumping around in those rigs. But I think Rigs was one of the first games that, like, the first time I saw it, I was highly impressed by the graphics. I thought the graphics was detailed. The graphics was pretty good. So I was impressed by the graphics on Rigs. So when I first got into VR, I probably say Rigs was had some of the best graphics out there. You said one game made me think I was going to get motion sick. Eve Valkyrie Warzone, but that only lasted for a second. Eve Valkyrie, that's another experience that I'll never forget because the first time I tried Eve Valkyrie was at Best Buy because leading up to the release of the PlayStation VR, they were doing demos at Best Buy and at GameStop. So my son and I, we were coming into Best Buy every week because every time I picked my son up, the first thing came out of his mouth is, can we go to Best Buy to try out the PlayStation VR? And I was like, okay. So we go there, we try Battlezone and Eve Valkyrie and stuff. And when you're inside that launch chute and you see the nose of that ship come up and you start flying out of that chute, that was amazing. That was unbelievable. But as soon as you get out there in space, and you start trying to fly that ship, and the controls were inverted, so when you push up on the stick, the ship goes down, and when you pull back, it goes up. I'm used to push up, go up. Because of that was throwing me off too. That was making me a little bit motion sick. But yeah, a game like of Eve Valkyrie, I could definitely handle it. Yeah, shit. Shame they shut down the studios for Rigs and Drive Club. I can't really say that much about them shutting down the servers for either of them because I wasn't playing either of them. Rigs was making me motion sick, and in the case of Drive Club, I overcame the motion sickness for that game, but the blur was just awful. And I'm competitive, when it comes to sim racing. I'm really competitive, and back when I was young, both myself and my brother, we were both good drivers, and we was like really aggressive. We was dudes that didn't give a shit about weaving through cars on the highway doing 100 miles an hour. But part of being a good racer or a good driver, in my opinion, is being able to see that curve way before you get there. Because you can, like, racing to me is similar to chess in the sense that you got to be thinking 2-3 moves ahead. You're on this straightaway right now, but you see that curve, a half mile down the road or whatever, so you already got to start planning out of how you going to attack that curve, which angle you going to come in at. You couldn't do that with Drive Club because the background was so blurry, you didn't see the turn until you actually got there. And because of that, it was causing me to fly off the road and, hitting walls and all that kind of shit. And it was even worse on the night races. So when I got my hands on the Rift S and I played Project Cars 2 on the Rift S, it was like, it was like that heavenly moment where lights were shining through the clouds. I was like, oh my God, but other than that blur, other than the blur, because the blur is bad on Drive Club. It is a great game, but the blur is bad. Can't lie about that. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But if Drive Club wasn't so blurry, so Drive Club, if that wasn't so blurry, and if GT Sport had a VR multiplayer, I would have been good. I wouldn't have needed any more sim racing games. I would have been good with those two games. And I said that before, that if the PlayStation VR had more sim racers and it had more first person shooters and more multiplayer games altogether, I might not have bought that PC. That the lack of those categories is what, I was somewhat interested in getting a gaming PC, but those the lack of first person shooters and the other stuff that I described with the PlayStation VR, they factored into me wanting to get a PC. Now that I got a PC, I'm not looking back. I don't care how many of these games, how many of these PCs I destroy. I'm staying. I'm here to stay. PC gaming, PC, not flat screen gaming, but PC VR. I'm here to stay. So, give me a moment, folks. I'm gonna get up and go to the fridge and grab a drink because I'm getting a little bit scratchy. I'll be ready to wrap this up in a few minutes, but I'm ready for a drink right now. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. You said Wipeout is amazing in the VR. It is. But I had to put a but on there because there's a little bit of an asterisk. Here's what Wipeout VR did to me. It's not a sim racer. It's arcadey to me. And then like the turbo boosts and weapons and all that stuff come into play with that game. The game runs fantastic. I never had a problem with the game. Didn't have any issues with lag or that kind of stuff or getting dropped from races. Because I think the game might be running on a dedicated server. It runs fantastic. This was before I got a PC. So the PlayStation VR was my only means of VR at the time. So every time I played Wipeout VR, I said, this game looks amazing and it runs great. Why can't they do this on the sim racers? I was like, why can't they do this, on GT Sport? Why can't they get that blur out on Drive Club VR? So Wipeout VR would take me back to what was lacking in the other games that was racing games that was there. You can make a case to Wipeout VR, even though it's not a sim racer. You can still make a case that on the PlayStation VR, Wipeout VR is one of the best looking games out there, and it's definitely one of the best running games. So, again, the game runs fantastic. And if you should happen to catch the game on sale, hell, that's all the more. One second here, folks. I'm having a look at my stream. Just making sure I'm still good. Again, the game runs fantastic. Okay, yes, we're good. Is Asgard's Wrath exclusive? Absolutely it is. It is an Oculus exclusive, but you do not have to have an Oculus headset to play it. That would be your best bet in order to get the best performance out of the game. But I understand there's apps out there, I think called Revive, that will allow you to play Oculus games from other headsets. But people have said that the performance may be compromised a little bit. So if you but if you have a, especially if you have an Oculus Rift S, I think Asgard's Wrath and probably Stormland are must buys. Speaking of which, let me take a second to check the status of my PC, because it got delivered in Kentucky yesterday morning, and but it didn't get checked in until like 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So let me see what the status is. Cold yogurt. We've been gaming on flat screen for over 40 years. Why are gamers so against VR? Hmm. I don't think as many people are against VR now as they were, say, 2 years ago. I think, especially because of the Oculus Quest, I think VR is starting to trend now. You know, we're starting to hear about these headsets being sold out. And I think that, hell, I think VR is on the rise to the point where we are starting to get people who are not true VR people, but they're getting on board with it because, like VR is the new hot thing. You know, I wonder what it's like. You know, that kind of stuff. So I guess I dare say that VR is getting to the point where we're starting to get a few bandwagoners jumping in, a few groupies starting to jump in. That's not purists. I'm pure about VR because let me see. I got the PlayStation VR day one, but I didn't play it until Christmas because I bought it day one when it came out in October 2016. It stayed hidden in my closet for a few months, and I gave it to my son on Christmas. So that wasn't the first time that I played VR, but it was the first time that I played a VR that I bought. And that was December of 2016. But I didn't create a YouTube channel until a whole year later. I made my first YouTube video as far as gaming video goes on December 17th, 2017. And I think for like the first year that I was on YouTube, it was flat screen gaming. And not only that, I was fiercely caught up in that console war. So a lot of the videos that I made was trashing Microsoft, trashing Phil Spencer, trashing the Xbox brand. So I got caught up in that console war, and a lot of the stuff I was saying was coming from the heart. You know, so when I was letting it be known that I didn't care for Xbox and I didn't like them and stuff like that, I was speaking from the heart. I wasn't saying shit. I wasn't saying clickbait shit to try to fuel the console war, to try to get views or anything like that. I was speaking from the heart. But as I made that transition to VR, because I actually got less viewers when I switched over to VR, because I think when I was caught up in that console war and I was doing these rant videos and shit like that, I think I would have anywhere from 20 to 40 viewers on my streams. But I think as I started making a transition to VR, I think I was losing I would lose a sub, but the new sub that I would gain, I think, would be a VR centric sub. So I think some of the console war people were starting to phase out, and I was starting to gain VR subs. So, but I think what I got right now is that, and then getting tossed in YouTube jail for 3 months didn't help either. But I think with the audience I have now, it's less people in here, but the people that come are more consistent, which is fine with me because the it's still at the end of the day to me it's still about carrying on a conversation with all you guys, and so this is just right for me because we got 9 viewers in here right now, and I think that's enough to for me to give my opinions, report the news, but still be able to interact with all of you at a manageable pace. If I had 100,000 subs and I was doing this stream, the comments would be coming so fast that I wouldn't be able to see all of them. The truth, that's a message you directed at Yogurt. I think people sometimes dislike the things that are different than what they're used to. Like me, for instance, I don't much like mobile gaming. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, mobile gaming with me is already dead. I mean, it doesn't have a chance with me because mobile gaming to me is not like VR, is not like flat screen gaming. And then not only that, it doesn't set in well with me knowing that a lot of these mobile games are free to play to try to draw you in and then crack you with microtransactions. How anybody would spend a ton of money on these little rinky-dink mobile games, spending money on these microtransactions is beyond me. That just don't fly with me, and that's one of the other things that I absolutely love about VR, that it hasn't gotten to the point where microtransactions rule the landscape yet. Um, with flat screen gaming, microtransactions they're so prevalent. It's almost like what flat screen game doesn't have microtransactions? That's how much of a presence that microtransactions has with flat screen gaming. Um, and with VR, we haven't gotten there yet. It's coming as VR continue to grow, and I've said that before, that when the PS5 comes out, the floodgates are going to open. You guys heard me say that a trillion times. The floodgates are going to open, and we're going to see a plethora of games coming out because developers will be able to put them out on the PC and the PS5 at the same time, and that's going to make the audience even bigger. When that happens, and it catches the attraction of publishers like EA and Activision, and they decide to get on board with VR, they're going to bring their microtransactions with them. So right now, I think VR is in a good spot where we're getting AAA experiences, but there's no microtransactions, or the microtransactions are so small that you just don't even notice them. So yeah, I see what you're saying right there. Cold yogurt was not good for you is good for another. So I'll never trash mobile gaming and say that it's garbage because I know people out there love it, and there's definitely a market for mobile games out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't see everybody scrambling to make mobile games. I mean, look at the E3 the EA had. Other than I think other than showing Jedi Fallen Order, and then showing the DLC for Apex Legends, everything they showed was mobile shit. Um, what about Activision? What game was that? Was that Diablo or something like that? That was mobile. That had everybody in an uproar, and they were and the developers was like, "What? You guys don't have mobile phones? Shit like that." That sent people into an uproar. Uh, You said the truth. You said, yeah, my girl stays playing games on her phone. Well, smartphones, just there's so much shit you can do on smartphones that these days, um, I think smartphones are way more important to women than they are to men. So, in my opinion, seeing a woman without a mobile phone is like a deformity. You know, that's like seeing a woman with no arm. You know, if a woman says she don't got a mobile phone, it's like, what? You know, um, I've heard a few men say they don't have mobile phones before because they want to live like cavemen and live in the forest and shit like that and be disconnected from the outside world. But a woman without a smartphone, that's like I said, that's a that's an abnormality. So I don't know what else to talk about. So I guess I'll take a quick look at N4G, see what the latest news is. Because I still do talk about flat screen gaming a little bit because um, I still plan on getting a PS5, and even though 95% of it is going to be for VR purposes, I still plan to play a flat screen game here or there. There's a couple of PS5 articles there. Nah, not enough to really talk about. I saw a couple of opinionated pieces about the PS5, but nothing that I felt like we're talking about. So I can take a quick look at upload in VR and road the VR and see if there's anything there. And if I don't really see anything, then I can probably go ahead and wrap it up. Let's see here, D Truth. Have you played any kart racing games, Link? If so, which one you like the most? I've really only played. I've only played two kart racing games, and one of them I believe is called Kart. It's either Racing Kart VR or just Kart VR or something like that. I think this was the first game that was attempting to mimic Mario Kart. I bought that game thinking that my son would like it, but he didn't really care for it. And then I tried Touring Kart, which I've tried that on both. Because I got a key from the developer. So full disclosure there, I got a key from the developer, and because I emailed him and he sent me a key for the PC, and that's a pretty good game. It is a fun game. It it's like it feels like playing Mario Kart, but you're interactive in it. And the way they got the control schemes laid out, you can use just about any form of control that you want. You can use a dual. In the case of getting it on the PlayStation VR, you can use a racing wheel. Well, it's like that on PC too. You can use a racing wheel. You can use a controller like an Xbox or a PlayStation controller. You can use the move controllers. You can use the touch controller. So there's a lot of different control schemes you can use on Touring Kart VR, and it's good on both of them. But I prefer to play it on PC. But I have been in contact. I haven't talked to him Probably in a couple of weeks. I probably should email him, see how things are going. But I have talked to the developer of that game a few times, and last time I talked to him, he's trying to bring the game to the Oculus Quest, but it got rejected. And then I guess he's made some improvements to the game. And the last time that I talked to him, he was getting ready to submit a request again to bring the game to the Oculus Quest. And I hope to get a key when he does that, when it does come to the Quest, because I think it's Dash Dash Racing or whatever that game is called. That game did make it to the Quest. I've never tried that game, but if that game made it to the Quest, I don't see why touring carts couldn't make it to the Quest. So yeah. I guess I gave you an over answer if you want to put it that way. But yes, I have played, kart games in VR, and they are fun. Uh, Dash Dash Kart. I'm a little bit curious about it. Because when I first saw it, on PC and I think a PlayStation VR, I was like, okay, whatever. But when I saw it on the Quest, that got my attention because I'm like, okay, the way it looks on PC, that's to be expected because I do not think the game, as far as graphics goes, I think Dash Dash Kart, those kind of games are not physically demanding. So you would expect the kind of graphics that you see on PC or even PlayStation VR. But when I saw it on the Quest, Dash Dash Kart, I expected the graphics to be compromised. But for what I saw, I think it looked good for what I saw. With that being said, if I were to get Dash Dash Kart, I think I would want it on the Quest, just because of the convenience. I can't believe that I'm saying this kind of shit right now because of how convenient the Quest is. I can't believe that I'm saying this shit. There's just some games. There's no way around it. There's just better. The best experience for the game is on the Quest, and there's Racket Fury being one of them. Ah, check some messages here. I'll watch that later. Okay, so I'll hang on a few more minutes and see if you guys got any questions, opinions, any quick stories you might want to share. Because I think I've run out of things to talk about. I mean, we lasted this long because of all of you. You guys kept the conversations going. Hold on a second. I got to go blow my schnozola. I'll be right back. So see what kind of questions or topics you guys can come up with in the meantime. Okay. All right, D Truth. I see you getting ready to boogie on out of here. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. I've run out of things to talk about, so when I get done with this podcast, I'm definitely gonna play something. Um, uh, I don't know how to stream to YouTube yet on the Quest, and I think it involves buying some equipment. So that's not gonna happen just yet. But whatever if I do decide to play something on PlayStation VR, I will stream it. And I guess if I play something on the PlayStation VR after this podcast is over, I want to try to play something different because God knows how many firewall streams that I've done. Um, and I stopped doing the Creed podcast because the game appeared to be dead to me. But I'm gonna go back and revisit Creed because, you know, I think about a week or two ago when I was reading some of these articles, Creed was one of the games that was one of the best-selling games of like kind of like the Christmas holiday. So hopefully, Creed isn't dead because I really enjoyed doing those streams. I really enjoyed the trash talking. Um, because some people have said some wicked stuff to me on Creed, and I've said some wicked stuff back. Um, Only problem with streaming Creed is that whoever my opponent is, if they are not my friend, then you're not going to be able to hear what they say. If they are a friend, if I'm fighting a friend, then I can create a party chat, and then you'll be able to hear him that way. I think PC, on the other hand, whoever you're fighting doesn't need to be your friend in order for you to hear my opponent. So a lot of my Creed streams um, were streams where you could only hear what I was saying and you couldn't hear my opponent. Now I do have a Creed stream that is an absolute classic. I was fighting one of my friends named Diver, and that that stream was about I don't know, it was probably about an hour long. We probably had about 13 fights or something like that, and it was so much trash talking. That's a classic. That's one of my classics. Um, Give me a second here. Occasionally I'll post links to that stream. Now I'm trying to find it real quick so I can put a link in the chat. Here we go. Creed Rise to Glory number 31. Big time trash talk. So let me share this with everybody. Copy this to the clipboard, and then let me come back to this. Let me come back to the stream, and I put it in the chat. Here we go. Creed Rise to Glory number 31. Big time trash talk. So let me share this with everybody. Okay, there's a link. That's the link to one of my best Creed streams ever. Go check it out, and you will be laughing your ass off after you check that out. It is very entertaining, right from the start to the very end. So check it out. And even though it's an old stream, if you had a good laugh out of it, don't hesitate to put a comment in the comment section and let me know you enjoyed it. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to boogie on out of here and decide what I'm going to play, because I've been on for a little over 2 hours. I definitely want to thank everybody who joined me. And I had no idea this stream was going to go this long, especially with no VR news to really talk about. But thanks for allowing me to share old stories, from my younger days. And so yeah, I think that's gonna do it for me. I think I'm gonna move on and play something. Not only that, um, I don't know. I'll probably have to get ready to go pick my son up in a couple hours too. So I need to hurry up and get my gaming in real quick before I go get him. So thanks for watching, everybody. I really, really, really appreciate it. Um, and do make sure you check us out on the VR link tomorrow. With host Gamertag VR, along with 7 Degrees of Gaming, Assaults to Catch Up. I don't know what the show is going to be about. There's a few subjects and a few things that we've kind of dabbled in what the show might be about, but I can't say for certain what the show is going to be about, but it's always going to be a good show. And make sure you tune into the VR link. We try to get going at about 2 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you check us out. And also tomorrow, although I won't be able to catch it live because I'll be in the VR link, so I won't be able to catch this live. I won't be able to catch that podcast live. But I believe tomorrow, Porter Rock is supposed to be a guest on the PlayStation Legion with J-Tech, which I think is going to be a tremendous podcast because, if anybody knows the history of those two, they've gone at it a few times. They, they had a pretty fierce debate one time. So, so much to the point where I was neutral, like I'm not getting in this shit. But he's supposed to be a guest on J-Tech's podcast. And I think J-Tech and Porter Rock have the potential that if they were to work together, I think they have the potential to be the 1-2 punch for the PlayStation, as far as from a representative standpoint. Both of them love the PlayStation. Both of them have a huge, as far as I'm concerned, they both have a huge viewer base. And I think, we could be looking at a situation where, Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan's getting ready to come together to do a podcast tomorrow. So whether you catch it live or whether you catch it on the replay, that's also another podcast you can catch. But naturally, I would encourage you and invite you to come watch us on the VR link. So, but thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. I'll do some kind of stream at some point today. Can't promise when or what I play. A lot of this stuff is just spur of the moment, whatever flows through me at the moment, but I will do something today. And thanks for watching, and I will catch everybody later. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff, and I'm out of here. Right there. Deuces.